Hello there, my beautiful book lovers. My name is Kimia, and welcome back to my book nook. Today we're celebrating someone's birthday, and that is Oscar Wilde. He is a very famous, well-known, and loved Irish author and poet. And today it's October 16th, his birthday. So I thought that it would be a nice way of, I usually do sometimes these like little videos of celebrating my favorite author's birthday. And I thought today would be a good day to celebrate Oscar Wilde. I wanted to do it last year and I didn't get to. So this year we're going to do Oscar Wilde. We're going to start with a little bit of biography and then we're moving with like recommendation. So Oscar Wilde was born on October 16, 1854 in Dublin, Ireland, and he had a father that was a doctor and a mother that was an author and also an activist. So because of that, he sort of grew up in this environment that was surrounded with books, plays, literature, everything. And so he was very gifted from a young age. And by the time that he went to Trinity College and then Oxford, he was really showing this talent that he had with words, with writing, and he was very witty. And so he was really standing out. And then by the time that he graduated from college and moved to London, he started to really write. And he was very well known and loved for how, again, witty he was. And people really enjoyed his books. But then because he was so outspoken when it came to queerness, in a sense, like outspoken in a sense that he was very outspoken about his own life, that he was not really hiding who he was, but at the same time in his books he was sort of like talking about the topic of queerness and pointing out characters that had sort of those tendencies, and was really talking about how these relationships are sort of perceived in the environment that they were at that time. And because of that, he was actually put to prison for a couple of years because of indecency, and like back then a lot of these issues that was going on and that we're kind of sort of still seeing these days. And so by the time that he was out, he sort of moved to Paris. And during the time that he was put to prison, he was sort of like doing this like hard labor, like that was his punishment sort of that he needed to do, and because of that, that really affected his health. And so by the time that he moved to Paris, he was really struggling with a lot of health issues. He was poor, and yet he started to actually write in French, and he sort of continued writing. But unfortunately, he died in Paris by the time that he was like 43, if I'm not wrong. So he was very young. And by the time of his death, a lot of people were still not really open to his books and his writing because of those elements of queerness. But by the time that sort of tides has changed a bit, now he's a very well known and loved author, and I'm pretty sure you have heard some of his most famous books. First and foremost is The Picture of Dorian Gray, and then also the play that it's The Importance of Being Earnest, and there was also the short sort of book Salome that he wrote in French. It's Salome, if I'm not wrong. Salome? But like it's French pronunciation, so I'm sorry. But again, like all of his books and novellas and plays and short stories really now are sort of very well loved. The Picture of Dorian Gray is one of my all-time favorites. That book is truly a gem. You have to read it for sure. And so today is his birthday, and I thought that for his birthday, instead of sort of having a review of his books, recommend books that has those elements that are sort of tying back to his books, to sort of like, if you love these, sort of read these. And so to start, we will obviously going to start with The Picture of Dorian Gray, because again, it's the most well-known. And for this one, because it's a book that it's really talking about this young man and his portrait and immortality and all of our fears about immortality, death, sort of aging, and all of those sort of things. I was thinking of, okay, what book sort of I want to recommend. And so since it's sort of like dark and gothic, my first and foremost, always sort of a recommendation, it's The Mexican Gothic by Silvia Morena Garcia. But I think I have recommended a book so many times that I was like, I need another one. And so I thought to recommend Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. So this book, I read it once, like a while ago, and I was really moved by this story because the ending, at least for me, I didn't see it coming. So this book, it's about this person that it's living in sort of a never-ending house, and it's sort of like a house, but it's also like there's like open space, so it's sort of like a maze maybe, and he is called Piranesi. And so he believes that he is sort of all alone in this universe, and there is another person called Other, or Piranesi call him Other, that sometimes comes and goes, but purely it's just him. And so we are following him through his journey because he loves to journal. And then after a while, he starts to notice that some part of this journal doesn't make sense, or like it shows that it has been skipped, ripped apart, or whatnot. And so this story, it's about the discovery of what had happened to him and what's going on and what's the story behind all of these things. And this book, it's one of those that, again, I feel like you have to go into it knowing as little as you can, because the ending was really one of those that similar to like the Picture of Dorian Gray, that it's so like shocking and you do not see it coming, and at the end of it you feel so much for the main character, and it's sort of like a very sort of a unique experience. So I thought that would be a sort of a good match that pairs very well with the Picture of Dorian Gray. So if you loved and enjoyed Picture of Dorian Gray, I highly recommend Piranesi. And then I was thinking of another element that it's very well known in the books that Oscar Wilde usually used. Again, it was the queerness, and it was talking about different sorts and types of character than what was common back then. And for that, I picked Light from Uncommon Stars by Raika Unaki, if I'm not wrong. So this one, it's a very unique book. This book, it's about a transgender young girl that sort of, she is a musician and she's very talented, and she's living in this environment that it's not very healthy and supportive. So she leaves and she's trying to find herself and like what she wants to do with her life, and she comes across this person that has made a deal with the devil that if they're going to give 7 sort of souls to devil, then they're going to be free. And so they meet this young girl, Katrina, and so they're like, and this person, it's a very well-known musician. So they tell Katrina that, like, you know, I'm going to teach you to like how to become a better musician. And so we're following them. In this book, it's very unique because it's sort of fantasy, it's sort of sci-fi, and it's also a coming of an age of a story. And so I enjoyed it. It's one of those books that I will not say it's like the best book that I have ever read, but I will say that it's a unique book. It's one of those, again, because of the sets of character, I very enjoyed it. It's a very sort of a different story, and I love because we do not really see that many books that are about transgender people, and so, and especially like when they are younger and going through all of these transition and finding out who they are. So I enjoyed and really appreciate the story that it was trying to tell. There's a lot going on, again, because it's sci-fi, there's aliens, there's fantasy because like there's the devil and the whole like deal with that, and there's the coming of an age part of his story. But I felt that at the end it was an enjoyable book, and I feel that if you're looking for a sort of a lighthearted story, because when I was thinking of picking a book for this section that talks about queer characters, I had a couple of others in mind, but what I have been noticing and have been sort of in the talk that I had with some of my friends has been mentioned to me, that I noticed that a lot of the queer stories unfortunately have like sort of a sad, not just this story but also sad ending. And I felt that I would like to recommend a book that actually has a nice and happy ending, because I thought that's what we like to see, that's what we like to support. And not that there's anything wrong with those sad stories, because they are part of also the journey and it's important to pay attention to those. But I felt like because of Oscar Wilde personality, because how even despite everything that he was going through, he was still a very sort of a witty and funny person. I wanted to recommend a book that has a nice and happy ending, so I ended up with this one, and I hope you give it a try and enjoy it as much as I did, because again, it's a different and unique book, and it's good to give those books a try sometimes. Then staying with this sort of not a theme, but like the tone of being a witty and fun read. And since I was thinking of the importance of being earnest, because that one is also a very fun, it's a very short, that's one is sort of like a play. So it's very short, it's very fun. And again, it's talking about the importance of being earnest. And it has like, double meanings on that. And so it's really about the characters and us as human, as our relationship with others, our families, and all of those sort of like in our relationships. And so when I was thinking of what book would go well with that one, I actually came across a book that I recently, like literally like maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I finished it. And that is The Wedding People by Alison S. Patch, if I'm not wrong. And this book, it surprised me so much, because I didn't know what it was really about other than being about a wedding. And I was so surprised that how much I loved it. I didn't just enjoy it, but I truly, truly loved it. So this book, it's about Phoebe. She is this sort of young adult-ish. She's in like mid 30s or 30s or something, and she is recently getting a divorce, and so she's at a very dark place in her life, and she's at a point that she's not really sure what she wants to do or what's going on with her life and some other stuff, and then she goes to this very nice hotel in Newport, Rhode Island, because she always wanted it to go and she never got it. And then because of now she's going through this divorce and everything, she's like, you know what, I'm just gonna go. And when she goes there, she's told that there is this wedding happening. And so all the other rooms has been booked for this wedding. And they, like the wedding people, they actually thought that like the hotel was fully booked just for them. And then they noticed that Phoebe is there. So she sort of is blend in and sort of sucked in into this whole wedding situation that's going on. And we are following that story. And I adore this book because it's one of those that the main theme, it's actually pretty dark, because it goes through dark moments again, because Phoebe's going through such a hard situation, and it's at a point in her life that she's really seeing nothing anymore. She's seeing no point in anything anymore. And so while it's dealing with these heavy topics, it does it in such a light way, but not in a disrespectful way, it's because sometimes you get a sense that the person does not realize how big some of these hardship can be for a person and how harsh they can be if you sort of treat it lightly. But with this book, it's not like that at all. It's the opposite, that you actually see the respect that the author is giving this topic, but it's showing the human nature when it comes to sometimes in these harsh topics that maybe we're going through a very rough patch, but at the same time, because of us being human and because of the circumstances that we're put into, for example, for Phoebe, it's this wedding that all of a sudden she's part of, and how it changed her mindset, her intentions, and her sort of perspective towards life. And so I loved it. It's one of those books and one of those stories that in no way it's very unique or very new, but at the same time the characters are so alive and real and so lovely in their own ways, and the story was so just sort of like whimsical in a way for me, because I felt that I was also part of that wedding. And I actually honestly did look up that hotel, because I was like, is it because I live close by to Rhode Island enough to, I was like, I will make it like a road trip. I will go and I will stay in that hotel too. I seriously, because like the description of like that hotel and the environment and like the surrounding and the little town and everything was so vivid that I was like, I would love to go and visit this hotel. And then I realized that it's a fictional hotel, and it was like, damn it, I wanted to go. So because of that, I really enjoyed it, and I thought it actually goes, and I don't know why, but like in my mind, it went very well with the importance of being earnest, because that one is also like, again, like that one is not about like the same topic per se exactly completely, but at the same time it has the same tone and it has the same vibe. And again, this one is also very witty, at least I think so. And it had those moments that I was crying, but it had also those moments that I was like purely just laughing, because how silly these people are, because we as people truly are silly sometimes. So if you enjoyed the importance of being earnest, or if you like to read a book that, despite the heavy topic that it has, it's still very lighthearted and gives you hope at the end, I highly recommend giving this book a try, because it was just so lovely. And then moving to sort of staying, I wanted to finish this because Oscar Wilde was an Irish author. I wanted to sort of recommend some Irish stories and Irish books, because it's also always important to sort of read books from different cultures. And the first book that I wanted to recommend, it's Normal People by Sally Rooney. I have talked about this book before, I think. Sally Rooney is one of those authors that her writing, you're going to either love it or not really enjoy it. It depends. And it changes from book to book, because like for me, I actually enjoyed Normal People, and I read, I think it was Conversation with Friends, if I'm not wrong, and I didn't like that much, just because, so, but I really recommend to read Normal People and watch the show. The show was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. This book, it's about these two young kids, Marianne and Connell, and they go to this high school in Ireland. And then Connell, it's actually because, like, he's a jock, he's sort of pretty popular, he's loved by everybody. And Marianne is, on the other hand, she's very intelligent, but she's sort of like a little awkward. And so because of that, she's not very, like, not liked, but she's not really that popular or anything. And then they sort of form this friendship and then relationship and everything, and we're following them as they're growing up and going to college, graduating, and everything of that. And it's a story of two normal people, sort of, but it's such a beautiful story. I really loved it because it really touched my heart in how, again, it's one of those stories that feels so real, that you feel that they could have been any of your friends. It could have been you. And I really loved it because they both are unique in their way, and especially because you see how they're growing up and how much they're changing. And it's one of those stories that I'm sure a lot of us had experienced, that a lot of people who were not really that popular during their high school years, by the time that they went to college, they actually were much more liked and popular, and vice versa. The people that were like pretty loved and popular in high school, by the time that they reached college, because of like different insecurities, different changes, they were not really that popular anymore. And so we're seeing these changes through these two characters, and we're seeing that how communication, how insecurities really plays into these relationships. And so I adored that book. I really enjoyed it. And I felt that, like, to sort of like get a good look into the Irish culture and Irish like everyday life, really. It's a good book to read, and to sort of staying with this learning about Irish culture, I my personal experience is that the best way to learn about any culture, it's really by reading about their folklore and their fantasies and their sort of stories that have been told from generations. And a great book for that, it's Myth and Legend by Lady Gregory, if I'm not wrong. And this book, it's just really fun. It's a bunch of short stories about myth and legends and folklore, really. And it's one of those that, like, you feel like, you know, the stories that you tell the children, the stories that it's about, again, your culture. And it's one of those that, like, some of them are very enjoyable, some of them are okay, but at the end of the day, I always enjoy to read about different myths, because I feel like, you know, like, it's like my mom telling me about our myth and our mythology. And this one was a book that, again, it's pretty short, and the stories are just so whimsical and lovely to sort of, like, you know, get some of the, like, the stories that you might have heard, not have heard from, like, St. Patrick's or whatnot. So it's very fun, and I thought it would be really nice. At least in my opinion, I think it has those elements of, like, wittiness with it, so it will go very well, because, like, Oscar Wilde also used to write a lot of, like, poems, short stories, plays, and so I think this would be a nice sort of a match for celebrating Oscar Wilde. And by that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, happy reading.